संस्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रुत्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। So today, on this special occasion of Holy Mother's birthday, the actual date of his birthday celebration this year was on 3rd January, it being a weekday. As our practice, we always celebrate it on the following weekend. And that's how we are here today celebrating Holy Mother's birthday. And in the morning we had the puja, the homa, and in the evening we just kept a talk on the life and teachings of Holy Mother. And today the topic which I have chosen is the signs of awakening. That a person is spiritually awakened. What are the signs? That we will try to understand as has been exemplified in the life of Holy Mother. Now, the path of awakening is not easy. As in the Katha Upanishad, very nicely it has been stated, Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapya, Varan, Nivodhata, Kshurasya Dhara, Nishita, Duratyaya, Durgam, Pathastat, Kavayo, Vadanti. That arise, awake, and start your journey. Proceed by the path which has already been traversed by the great ones. Wait for certain, it's not easy. Kshurasya Dhara. It's a path full of perils. It's just like walking on the edge of a razor. But don't get disheartened. It is very difficult, but it is not impossible. And it is something which has to be pursued. Why it has to be pursued? Because in life, we think that so many things are there to give me happiness. But know it for certain, all the worldly ways of living, however rich I may be, however name and fame I may have, however wonderful may be my relationships, the ultimate happiness can only be attained. The ultimate fulfillment can only be attained through spiritual awakening. That gives us the ultimate fulfillment. Otherwise, everything ends in dissatisfaction because everything is a flow. Nothing is going to stay with you through eternity. The nature gives us in bounty everything at certain point of time, and again it takes away everything at certain point of time. When it gives, because of our short-sightedness, we get elated. We think this is the be-all and end-all of existence. We don't see that everything will be snatched away from us. The things which we think as the be-all and end-all of our existence is not going to be with me. The nature provided me for the time being, it is going to take away from me everything. The only thing that remains with me, that is the spiritual awakening, when I know my real nature, and then nothing has to be attained. As very nicely in the Svetashvatara Upanishad, that's a famous, that mantra, which we find is oft quoted. What is that mantra? Srinvantu Vishwe Amritasya Putraha Aye Dhamani Divyani Tasthu Vedahametang Purushang Mahantam Aditya Varnam Tamasap Parastat Tameva Viditva Atimrityumeti Nanya Pantha Vidyate Ayanaya. So what is that mantra saying? That don't be in despair. When you find that you get nothing out of this world at last, we are in despair. We think, what's after all the use of this life? And then we find the rishis of the Upanishads, after going to that spiritual awakening, realization, they come back from that realization to confirm, to ascertain the fact that don't think yourself to be something small, something little. You are all Amritasya Putra. You are the son of the immortality. Your real nature is something immortal. Srinvantu Vishwe Amritasya Putra. You are the son, the Putra of Amrita, of something which is eternal. Know it for certain that Tameva, that what's the reason for which we are in despair? Because we don't know our real nature. As we don't know our real nature, we think the ego, our egocentric existence to be the be-all and end-all of our purpose in life. When we transcend that ego and can relate to that spiritual dimension of our existence, then you go beyond death. Tvameva veditva atimrityu. You go beyond that, atimrityu, transcend death, atimrityu meti. And there is no other way. That's a very important line. Nanya pantha vidyate ayanaya. That previous mantra told that it is very difficult. And then the question is, if it is difficult, why should I pursue? Here they are saying Nanya pantha. There is no other way. That's the only way by which I can really attain fulfillment in life. Though it is very difficult, it is not impossible, and we should pursue it because that's the only thing which is going to give us happiness. Now, this is very clear that the awakening is something which is a necessary factor in our life. We have to be awakened, spiritually awakened. It's not easy, but it is rewarding. If somehow we, through all our labor, can attain that, it is going to give us immense fulfillment in life. So that's the thing for which the Upanishad is again and again proclaiming. That know it for certain, this is the only way. Now when we get awakened, when spiritual awakening happens by the grace of the divine, by our own endeavor, our endeavor is just like walking one step towards the divine. When we are really intently willing to attain that state of spiritual illumination, know it for certain, God comes 16 steps. If you go one step, He will come down 16 steps to help us out. So His grace is very important. It's not that only by our own will everything can happen. However you may try, you will find the external circumstance is not in favor for your spiritual upliftment. So all those external factors have to become something conducing, and for that the grace of the divine is essential, without which our spiritual journey is impossible. So if by my own endeavor and by the grace of the divine, if I can get awakened, so what are the traits, what are the signs by which one can find that one is awakened? In Sanskrit there are two words, parasangvedya, swasangvedya. That something is subjective. When I go to the realization, it doesn't need anyone to say that you are realized. For my education, when I have to have a degree, someone else gives me the certificate. But when I go to the spiritual realization, no one else is going to give you the certificate. It's a subjective experience. You know you have realized. It gives a sense of certitude. It is noetic. You are convinced. But there are some external signs also, that is parasangvedya, by which we can understand a person is awakened. So what are those signs? So first let us try to find out the signs by which we can decipher, we can understand that a person is spiritually awakened. What's that? First is all sorts of biases falls off. We as a human being are a bundle of bias. Likes and dislike creates our bias. For a man of realization, the first thing that happens, all the bias falls off. And as a result, what happens? Whatever he sees clearly. All sorts of the obstacles in his vision they all fall off. So he sees clearly or she sees clearly. That's the first sign, that all the bias fall off and he sees the thing clearly. Now, these are the traits which we are going to discuss today by taking the Holy Mother's life as an example. How she exemplified through her life all these various traits of awakening. So the first is that all the biases falls off and such a person sees the thing clearly. The second is one acquires the strength to reject the socially sanctioned beliefs. There are so many social norms by which we are bound. A man of realization has the sufficient strength to transcend that, go beyond all those beliefs and traditions that don't serve any purpose. We will come to the discussion. First, let us highlight that what are the traits. First is his vision becomes clear. What I am not seeing, he is seeing clearly. And once he sees clearly, he is not at all afraid of proclaiming it. Whether the world agrees to him or not, he is not bothered. He has seen the truth and he proclaims it. Because he knows nothing can annihilate him. He has seen the infinite dimension of his existence. So from what to fear? All fear comes from the sense of annihilation, from the sense of destruction, that I will be harmed. If you know nothing can harm you, the core of your existence is infinite, is something which is beyond all sorts of cause and effect. Nothing can tarnish it. Then what's the cause? The factor of fear. The factor of fear has fallen off. So such a person proclaims the truth, going beyond the so-called social injunctions. If he or she finds the social injunctions are against the way of his vision, he or she is in no way afraid to speak out the truth. So that's the second thing. The third thing, one gets liberated from all sorts of attachments that binds us down. He goes beyond all attachment. The fourth, one begins to see divinity in every being. And once you see the divinity in every being, then the real love ensues. The fifth one, one's capacity to love transcends all sorts of limitations. Generally, our love is just within our family, within our tribe, within our nation. We always create a barrier of you and me. All those barriers falls off and that love expands infinitely. So these are the 5 traits by which we can understand whether a person is awakened or not. There are many other traits. These 5 are the things which we are going to highlight today. So let us take one by one. The first is that all sorts of biases falls off. One sees the truth. One sees everything clearly. Now, how the biases are formed? Now, you will find it really interesting that because of our bias, we can never see the thing clearly. Our vision gets tainted because of our bias. There's a very nice story in the Vedantic tales that how our vision gets tainted by the bias. Now, the allegory goes like that. We have so many times discussed it. There is a stump. A tree has, because of it was quite old and in the storm it has fallen, so only the stump is remaining. The dead log wood, that's with the root, it's there still. So the stump is lying in the corner of a park in the dusk, when in the twilight hours. You will find a very interesting, that the allegory says a very interesting thing, that a thief was running away from the police. The police was chasing him and he was running away from the police. From a distance in the twilight hours, as the light was not sufficient, he saw the stump. He thought it to be the police. The police who was in search of the thief from a distance, seeing the stump, thought it to be the thief. And the child who were playing in the park, now it's the twilight hours, it's going to get dark. So now it's time to return home. Mother is waiting somewhere to take the child back home. So now the child is in search of mother, and the child from a distance sees the stump, thinks it to be its mother. The mother who is in now waiting for the child thinks the stump to be the child. And a lover is waiting for his beloved. They have already planned to meet there. And from a distance, the lover thinks the stump to be his beloved or her beloved. So now just see how nicely the text describes that because of our bias, because of our inordinate attachments, we can never have a very clear vision. Our vision gets distorted. Sri Ramakrishna used to say a wonderful thing. When seemingly it appeared that Sri Ramakrishna was as if mad, he used to just, when in the time of his spiritual practice, the tremendous yearning for the divine, the pangs of separation from the divine was so intense that he will fall on the ground and used to rub his face on the ground and used to cry aloud. Seeing him, many thought he has got mad, he has gone mad. And Ramakrishna would hear that from the others' gossip. He himself heard that he has been just declared to be mad. Others think him to be a madcap. Hearing that, Sri Ramakrishna's remark was wonderful. What he told? All are mad. Some are mad for money, some for name and fame, some for the sensate pleasures of life. I am mad for God. All are mad. I am mad for God. So now the question is that why is the one who is mad for God is considered to be mad? It is known as the bandwagon effect. That all are mad. You just see that after all our chase for name and fame, wealth, isn't it a madness? Knowing very well that nothing is going to stay with me, anything which we do without purpose, that is madness. So it is a major madness, the way the world is chasing after the fleeting pleasures of life. Isn't it a madness? But we never consider it as a madness. Why? It has been considered as a bandwagon effect. If you see the ship, the way of the ships, the lambs, when the lambs are walking on a narrow piece of land, suppose they are walking on some embankment, it's very narrow, and the lamb which is on the front, it suddenly deviates, it just gets down from that embankment and just goes to the agricultural field. You will find all the lambs which were following it, they also get down. So just they never use their own discrimination, their own decision. They just follow the one who is leading. So this is the bandwagon. So just in a train, one wagon, the other wagons follows. That in the track it has to go. So this is called the bandwagon effect, that people tend to follow the crowd. The so-called, all the illuminaries in the worldly sense, in this world, what they do, that becomes my ideal. I never judge. You will find that our dress, our lifestyle, everything is decided by the so-called, either the royal king or the queen. Even now, many will be following the royal news, that always, the British royal. And that becomes their lifestyle, or the movie star. Without any discretion, any decision, we just simply follow. So that's the bandwagon effect. So as majority are following that way of life, we think that is normal. So, but the spiritual awakened ones, they are courageous enough to transcend the social norms and their social opinions. They have realized the truth and nothing can deviate them from the conviction as has been spoken of in the Kathopanishad. Very interesting. In the Kathopanishad, there is a very nice sloka that says, Yasya Brahma cha Kshatrang cha Ubhe Bhavata Odana Mrityur Yasya Upasechanam Ka Ittha Veda Yatrasa. See, what binds us in the society? Two things. Those who are believers, the so-called the dictums of the conventional religion, that's the thing which binds us. We always try to be within those dictums. And of course, the government is there. The state laws are there. That binds us. So these are the laws of the Kshatriya and the Brahmana. A man of realization has gone beyond that. So that's mentioned. Yasya Brahmacha Kshatrancha. Brahma, the so-called the dictums of the religion, and Kshatra, the dictums of the state. One who has realized, they transcend both of them. And sometimes what happens, that the society is there to declare you as something as outcast, because you are declaring the truth, something truth you find in all the religions. That what a tremendous persecution all these illuminary souls has to go through. They speak the truth, and the society is there, the priestcraft is there to come and persecute them. But still we find they are not afraid, because they know that they have reached the eternity. They are eternal. Nothing can affect them. They speak the truth out of infinite compassion, that this truth should be known by all. They are never bothered what's the consequence they are going to face. So they have gone beyond the social conventions. So we will find that when Holy Mother arrived at Dakshineshwar, now let us see in the life of Holy Mother. Now when she was in her own village, already she also heard the gossip that her husband is a mad person. He has gone mad. And even to sympathize with her, they will come and just always constantly they will be bickering that your husband is mad. And she also to a certain extent started believing that her husband has gone mad. And for the first time, when she took a decision that she is now, in those days it was something like betrothal. The marriage used to happen at a very tender age. But they never stayed together. Only after puberty, when they grew up, then they came and stayed together. The marriage was done previously. It was in the life of Holy Mother also we find the same thing. She was quite young. And now when she has grown, now she had decided to go to Dakshineshwar and stay with Ramakrishna. But in the meantime, she has already heard that Ramakrishna has lost his wits. To a certain extent, he also thought maybe he has lost his wits. But for the first time when he goes to Dakshineshwar, seeing him, she immediately finds out that actually he is in a very high exalted spiritual inspiration. We find a very interesting thing. One day, Ramakrishna, after visiting the temple of the Divine Mother, was returning. His devotion was so intense. Just by seeing the deity, he used to reel. His legs will be just, he will be just reeling. He couldn't walk properly. And he sensed when Holy Mother saw her coming that way, just like as if he's like a drunkard. Ramakrishna thought most probably she is thinking that he is drunk, totally drunk. So coming near Mother, Ramakrishna asks, "Do you think I am totally drunk?" And immediately that Holy Mother, she was of tender age. She was just in her teens. But see that she already has attained a certain spiritual understanding. She immediately says, No. Why should you be drunk? You are intoxicated by the divine bliss. It is a divine intoxication, not an ordinary intoxication. So we find that Holy Mother recognized Sri Ramakrishna at the very beginning, at the very inception. There's a nice saying that only a jeweler knows the worth of a jewel. So there's a nice a parable of Ramakrishna, that a rich man one day gave his servant a jewel and asked him to go to the market to find out its worth. The servant first went to an eggplant seller and asked that what's its worth. He took it in his hand, inspected it nicely and told, I will give you 9 eggplants for it. 9 eggplants. So he came back and told his master that he is ready to give only 9 eggplants. I told him that just try to give a bit, raise its price a bit more. He told, no, I have already told something which is beyond its actual price. If you just exchange it for 9 eggplants, well and good. And this rich man told, after all, he sells eggplants. He says, how will he know the worth of the jewel? You better go to a cloth merchant. And the cloth merchant, seeing it, he told, I will give you 1,000 rupees. He told, just try to raise the price a little more. He told, no. I have told more than the price, the market price. So again, this servant goes back. Again, the rich man says, he also is just a cloth merchant. How will he know the price of the jewel? And then he asks him to go to the jeweler. The jeweler, seeing it, immediately says, I will give you $1 million rupees. Because he knows, the jeweler only knows the worth of the jewel. So what the world judge you, for a spiritual illumined soul, sometimes it's impossible because I don't have those fund of experience to relate to your state of existence. So we judge, we belittle that person. We may think he's mad. But Holy Mother, with already that purity, with that spiritual awakening, she could see clearly that he is a spiritually awakened soul. There's a nice allegory to explain this. That some music was being played and there was a group dance going on. All were dancing together. Sometimes we find that in party and all, so they say music is played and all are dancing together. And all found one person is just dancing out of rhythm. So they told he doesn't know how to dance. He's dancing out of rhythm. And then someone else commented, most probably he is dancing in a rhythm which we don't hear. He is dancing in a rhythm which we don't hear. So Holy Mother understood that the entire world thinks he's mad. He's dancing out of rhythm because they don't hear the music in which he is dancing. He is dancing in rhythm. Holy Mother could recognize that. So that's what we find. That's what we find when Sri Ramakrishna is asking, am I intoxicated? How nicely, such a young girl, just in her teens, she was herself of very tender age. Because of that innate purity she could recognize. She told, you're intoxicated by the divine bliss. It's not an ordinary intoxication. Sri Ramakrishna's parables are wonderful. He says that when the like-minded persons meet, they are extremely ecstatic. And he gives the example when a hemp smoker meets another hemp smoker. They will run and embrace each other out of joy. Because they are of the same, they both have the same type of experience. So that's the example Sri Ramakrishna is giving. And we find here, Ramakrishna is a hemp smoker. What in the sense? Spiritual sense. He's divine intoxicated. Intoxicated in the divine bliss. When Holy Mother sees her, with her innate purity, she could recognize that. She could relate to that. And she says a wonderful thing, that when I was in Dakshineshwar, with Ramakrishna, they were not staying together. Holy Mother was staying in a nearby a house. It was the Nahabat, where the musical instruments were played during the time of Vesper service. She used to stay there in the ground floor. From there, she used to watch what's going on in Ramakrishna's room. Her life was extremely it was just like a nun. The room was very small. Extremely small room. We cannot, even now, if you go to Dakshineshwar, you can find that room. And it is beyond our imagination that some person can stay there, such a small cloister. And there, while staying for years together, she is saying, as long as I stayed there, I felt that as if a picture of bliss has been installed in my heart. To be in presence of Ramakrishna, the divine intoxicated person, in his room for 24 hours. There was no other talk, no other conversation apart from the talk of the divine. The talk of the divine, singing, kirtan, that's all is to go on there. In those days, there was a parda system. The ladies were not supposed to just come out in front of other person. So there was some barrier. There was some fencing in front of Holy Mother's residence so that she is not seen by the other person. Now, to witness what's going on in the Ramakrishna's room, the mirth of joy that is going on there throughout the day, she made some small holes in that fence. She used to stand throughout for the day, for hours, watching through that small hole what's going on in the Ramakrishna's room. It was so intoxicating. Standing for hours, she developed rheumatism. She used to say in the old age, by standing for hours to witness that what's going on in his room, I have developed this my knee has worn out. So such was the intoxication that she is saying that I felt as if a pitcher of bliss has been installed in my heart. So what it says, that as she is pure, her bias, there is no question of her vision to be obstructed by the bias. She sees clearly that Ramakrishna is a divinely intoxicated person. And she relates to that. And she also feels the bliss that has been transmitted from the Ramakrishna's room. And that fills her heart. So outwardly, she may look like as if imprisoned in that small house. Actually, what is prison? Prison is not something external. There's a very nice story I have heard of a Buddhist monk. A Buddhist monk goes to a prison regularly just for some spiritual instructions. And the prisoners, the inmates of the prison, they one day ask, well, where do you stay? I stay in a monastery. What is it like? The monk was thinking what to reply, and these inmates started asking, do you have TV in your monastery? So we have a TV here in the prison. We can see we can open the channels, we can just spend our time viewing the TV. Do you have TV? Oh, no, there's no TV. Oh, you have no TV. How you spend your time? Well, yes, there is a way of the monk. And then they asked, what about your food habit? Well, a very simple food habit. Well, here, it's quite good. They get quite lavish meal, even in the jail. And so one by one they were comparing, and they found everything is better than the monastery in the jail. Everything is better. And then they asked that, are you not miserable staying there? And then this monk simply asked one question, are you miserable? Well, oh yes, of course we are miserable. It is a prison after all. With all these amenities, with all these facilities, after all it's a prison. And then this monk replied, I don't feel that I am in prison. That's the only difference. It's not what you have. It's a state of your mind which speaks of your happiness. With all those limitations, I am at bliss with myself. So that's the state of mind which speaks. So in spite of all those limitations, we find Holy Mother is at bliss with herself. That external circumstances in no way can obstruct her bliss, can limit her bliss. Because she sees clearly. Because of the clear vision, she knows what Ramakrishna is. And she relates to that through bliss. The second factor, just as we told, is once you see clearly, now you have acquired the strength to reject the socially sanctioned beliefs and traditions that don't serve any purpose, that don't serve us. So, we will find a very interesting thing. That Sri Ramakrishna's marriage, a one who is always spiritually exalted, there was no need for marriage. He is a pure sannyasin. But we will find that his renunciation was spontaneous. It was not something that he resolved. It was something which was his nature. When his mother, thinking him to be mad, decided that maybe after marriage, that you develop a sense of responsibility and then you will be a normal person. So if somehow you find at home someone is behaving a bit queerly, the parents say, it's the time which we should give him for marriage. And that's what happened with Sri Ramakrishna. And he merrily agreed. He actually himself told that where to get the bride in a different village. That was also something divinely ordained. And after the marriage, we find Ramakrishna's life where it doesn't speak of any normal way of living. Then why did he marry? Was there a purpose? To show the world. If the purpose was there, to show the world that it is not just meant for the so-called censored pleasures. That's what we think nowadays. That everything has become so worldly that through marriage, we all are incomplete to certain sense. We can go beyond the limitation through this marriage, at last to go beyond all limitations and to be awakened spiritually. Actually, that was the real purpose of wedding. In India, if you go, a very wonderful thing. Throughout India, that wherever there is this wedding ceremony, this in all the province, the wedding ceremony is different. It's not the same thing. But there are some rituals which you find is same everywhere. So you will find during the wedding, the groom is holding something sharp in his hand. In the western province, it will be the sword. They will have a sword. In eastern province, they will have something they call jati, the beetle cutter. To cut the beetle, you need something sharp. So something sharp is in the hand of the groom during the marriage. Why something sharp is there in the hand of the groom? What's the ritual? Is it a meaningless ritual? No. The idea is the one with whom I am wedded, I am getting married. She is the manifestation of Shakti, the divine Shakti. With her help, I will cut the bond of all ignorance. The sharp thing is that's the thing indicated. I will cut the bondage of ignorance with the help of that Shakti. It's a question of mutual respect. Even the wife has to think of the groom, the bride has to think of the groom as the Lord himself. And here also, the groom is also thinking the bride to be the manifestation of the divine power. With this, the life starts. That all our human limitations are there at the beginning. But then the love takes over. As it grows, they try to find fulfillment in other higher dimension of existence. This is something which we do together, some higher sublime thing. The spiritual pursuits, our cultural pursuits. In all that, we all as if resonate in unison. And then the real joy is experienced. And that way, the marriage can become, you can go beyond just simply that the physical attraction, you can go beyond that to really relate in a more refined way. And at last, it can lead to that spiritual unitary experience. And to show the world the real purpose of marriage, Ramakrishna did marry. Because in worldly sense, he never had children. The marriage was never consummated. It's a wonderful thing. The marriage was never consummated. They never stayed together in a worldly sense. But we find during the time of Sharoshi Puja that Sri Ramakrishna, at last he found that the one with whom he has been married is innately pure. There is no trace of impurity in her mind. And then Sri Ramakrishna decided to worship her as the Divine Mother. On this Sharoshi Puja, on the day of Falaharini Kali Puja, Sri Ramakrishna arranged the worship in his room. His nephew thought most probably he is going to do the puja of the Divine Mother. But at last, his own wife was actually asked to sit on the altar. And there he worshipped her own wife as the mother. Established the motherhood of the Divine Mother. And not only that, during the worship, both went into deep spiritual inhibition, samadhi. In samadhi, what happens? You forget that you are this limited body-mind complex. You are the non-dual consciousness. You are the one non-dual consciousness which is manifesting itself as this world, as you, as me, as everything. So when you go to that experience, and your companion is also gone to that experience, now think of the unification. You are unified in spirit, not in flesh. And so their marriage was something which consummated in the spiritual sense, not in the worldly sense. So, and that's the thing for which the real wedding is. That at last we have to transcend gradually. At the beginning it's all okay. that we as a weak human being cannot think of that high spiritual consummation at the very beginning. You can start your life with all our worldly ways of living. It's okay. But we have to transcend that. We shouldn't be limited within that to show the world that Sri Ramakrishna's marriage. And we find that Holy Mother had sufficient courage to go beyond all the conflicts. When she had that unity, the spiritual unification through that samadhi, now she realized that she is eternal, her husband is eternal. There cannot be any death for her, for him. So where is the courage of Holy Mother? We'll find when Sri Ramakrishna passed away. In India, anywhere you go, immediately you have to relinquish the sign of all the signs of a married woman. You won't be wearing the vermilion, that the woman generally wear the vermilion, that once a widow will never wear that. They won't wear red bordered cloths. And their food habit is something which is very, very austere. No ornaments. In those days, to think of a woman breaking all those social taboos was impossible. Now the society has changed. Some 120 years, 25, 150 years back, it was a social taboo. No one can think of. But after Sri Ramakrishna passed away, when Holy Mother also, like any other woman, was trying to remove the ornament she was wearing, to remove the mark of the vermilion, to wear just a white sari which has no borders, Ramakrishna came to vision, a wonderful vision, a very vivid vision. He told, why are you removing all those signs of a married woman? I am here. I am just gone from one room to the other. Am I dead? I'm not dead. It is just like going from one room to the other, from one dimension of existence to some another dimension of existence. I am. And Holy Mother had the strength, after that vision, to break all the social convention in those days, to show the courage that she cannot be a widow. She is married to someone who is eternal. She is eternal. And that's the wonderful thing we see in those days. Throughout her life, she wore that red bordered sari, though the border was very thin, but she continued to wear that red bordered sari. She had these ornaments in her hand, and that's the thing which we see even in the photo. She wore it throughout her life. That vision was so vivid. Throughout her life, she had innumerable visions of Ramakrishna. So that's the idea which we were speaking, that when you get established in the spiritual realization, nothing can stop you. You get the courage to transcend all the social conventions, because you are now established in a truth which the world cannot relate, but you know for certain that it is the only truth. The truth which is seen by the minority, not by the majority. All the things which we think as truth is actually consensus reality, nothing else. That as if 5 hallucinating person hallucinate in the same way, what they hallucinate, that becomes real. Because what I hallucinate, you also hallucinate. When I say, I have seen this, you also say, I have seen this. So all the consensus, you consent that to be real, I consent that to be real, and that becomes the reality. What I say as real in this present world is just a consensus reality, nothing else. Even modern science will say you that what I see is we are all hallucinating. As we are all hallucinating in the same way, we say it is real. So it is just consensus reality. It is not absolute reality. The one who has gone beyond this consensus reality and have even once had that vision of the absolute truth, for them all the fear factors fallen off. They are convinced about that realization and are firm enough to break all the social conventions, to go transcend all the social conventions and lead a life which speaks of the spiritual fulfillment. They are just relinquish everything that serves no purpose for them. So that's the second trait we see, that they acquire sufficient strength to reject all socially sanctioned beliefs and traditions that don't serve any purpose. And then third, one gets liberated from all sorts of attachments that binds one down. When you go to that spiritual realization, you find that the world is a flow. All our attachments to this world has no meaning. In ultimate sense, it has no meaning. They are something like our, a cradle, which we need for our support. But somehow we forgot that we don't need support. We can stand without any support. And then you throw all your support. The cradle has fallen off and you stand in your own feet. So for that, you have to have some maturity, which comes through wisdom. We generally think that purity is innocence, that a small child is pure. No, small child is not pure. Small child is not pure. We don't know when he grows up how he will be behaving, what all character traits will be seen through him. They're all hidden. So innocence is not purity. Purity is the wisdom which we gather through our experiences of life. We find a wonderful example of purity in Ramakrishna's life. Ramakrishna came back to Kamarpukur, used to come back to Kamarpukur every year for 4 months during the rainy season in Dakshineshwar. The water, the water of the Ganges becomes very muddy, and in those days that was the water they used to drink, and it always created a lot of health issues. So that's why in the rainy season he used to go back to Kamarpukur and stayed there for 3-4 months. And then Holy Mother was quite young. She used to come from Jairambati to spend those few days with her husband. And we find, seeing Holy Mother to be quite young, Ramakrishna has her own way of instruction. He won't be giving a very serious instruction. So one day he was sitting in the courtyard. He was just lazily sitting in the courtyard, and Holy Mother, young girl, she with a long veil. In those days that was a tradition. With a long veil, the face cannot be seen. With a long veil, she came with a broom to just clean the courtyard. She was cleansing. And Ramakrishna, sitting in one of the corner of the courtyard, suddenly started saying that what's the need for having children? Now, after all, they're married. Naturally, he thought that she might have already had the desire to have children. And Ramakrishna has his spiritual way of living. He has already decided that worldly way of living is not for him. So now to make Holy Mother also of the same type of thought, to have that they may have the same type of belief system. Sri Ramakrishna is just saying casually, what's the need for having children? Just see, in those days epidemic was very, very common thing. See that you have the first child and you are very happy. That on the rice giving ceremony, the first rice taking ceremony, you invite so many people, you dress yourself, you put ornaments, you are full of this gay and gaiety, you are happy, and suddenly someone gives the news the child has developed cholera. And he is very sick, he is bedridden, and just suffering for a few days, he dies. You open all your ornaments, you just go to your normal poor clothing, you remove all your expensive clothing, your ornaments, you wail and weep, all happiness is gone. And after another 1 or 2 years, most probably another child is born, and this time it dies because of malaria. And that's why Ramakrishna was repeating again and again. The child is born, and it grows a little, and then it dies of this epidemic, this disease of either of cholera or of malaria or of pneumonia. So like that he was repeating. And now, at last, from behind the well, very mildly, Holy Mother just responded. What she told? Will all of them die? The moment she told, will all of them die, Ramakrishna immediately stopped joking. He jumped up from his seat. And what he told was something really very, very amusing. He told, oh, it seems I have stamped on the tail of a cobra. It did. Means just hearing that word, will all of them die, Ramakrishna immediately understood that somehow a little inkling of that desire is there in her mind, that she should have child. Then otherwise, why should she say that will all of them die? And immediately Ramakrishna jumped up. So this is purity. When you find a little inkling of the desire, you are aware. For us, the desire has risen in our mind, it has came and it has become a tsunami, and then we are overwhelmed. But for a pure man, they say the difference between a pure man and an ordinary man is just like a sand particle falling on your skin and the same sand particle falling on your eye. When it falls on your skin, you are not aware. But when it falls on your eye, immediately it irritates you. A pure person is like that. A sand particle as if has fallen on his eye. Just seeing the little trace of that desire immediately jumps up. And we find that by the time Holy Mother has came to Dakshineshwar, she is now a totally different person. She has already embraced the life of a nun. As we were telling that if you see that small Nahavat room, the immediate reaction will be, how can one stay there? It is a punishment. But for her, she was as if in a cloister of a nun. And she felt that a picture of bliss is installed in her heart, that is we are saying. So life at Kamarpukur, we will find that a tremendous detachment. Ramakrishna just instructed her that live a life of simplicity. Just sow some greens, plant some greens, with rice have the little greens. And that's what she practiced, literally practiced after Ramakrishna passed away. For few years, when she was not as such noticed by the devotees, her spiritual attainment was not yet recognized by the devotees, she got the scope to live a life in total seclusion. And there we find what a tremendous life of austerity she was living. But that also with full bliss. There was no sense of deprivation. That he had that cement from where you get that tremendous sense of detachment from that spiritual awakening. It is bound to come. It is not something forced. In the name of spirituality, we sometimes think that renunciation is something we have to take a resolution. By force, renunciation can never happen. It should happen spontaneously. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say very nicely, the scab which is on the wound, it has to fall off naturally. If you pull it out, the wound will lacerate. It has to fall off naturally. Renunciation is that spontaneous. All the attachments like the scab falls off naturally. In the Holy Mother's life, we find the spiritual realization led to that intense detachment. That in the last, we will find a very interesting thing. After the passing away of Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother felt that what's the need for continue with the life? Let me also leave the body. Sri Ramakrishna came to vision and told that lot of work is there. You have to do a lot. What have I done? You have to do more than that. But she never felt, because as she had no attachment, Sri Ramakrishna pointed that her niece, a niece was almost orphan. Her father has died, and the mother was somehow, she lost her wits and she was mad. So no one was to take care of Radhu, her niece. Ramakrishna told, she is your Yogamaya. Just take care of her. That will bind you to the worldly way of living. Otherwise, you cannot keep your body. You need some sort of attachment. But when we find Holy Mother along with Radhu, that niece, she's taking care of her, it appears that she's tremendously attached to her. That's the thing. A man of realization, whatever they does, apparently it appears, they're so focused, apparently it appears that they are very much attached to it. But at the last days of Holy Mother is very interesting. Everyone thought that she has a tremendous attachment for her niece. But on the last days when Holy Mother knew that it is the time to leave her body, she told no more attachment. Now, a realized soul leaves the body well prepared willingly. They are not snatched away from their body. They prepare for their death. When the time of death comes, they know how to get rid of all the shackles. Suddenly she told that please ask Radhu to go to Jairamati. She was in Calcutta. Then others told, how can you stay without her? She's this companion so she's always your companion. But she was very, very stern. She told, certainly I have withdrawn my mind. Know it for certain. The first president of Sharda Math, she was Sharla. She was taking care of Holy Mother in her last days. She was by profession a nurse in those days. So she used to take care of Holy Mother. So she told, it will be very difficult for you to stay without Radhu. Why are you sending him to Jairambati? Very, very firmly she replied, certainly I have withdrawn my mind. And she still added that know once for all that the mind which has been withdrawn will not come down again. That's the real renunciation. Once you have renounced, it cannot again go back to its old way of living. It's just like swallowing your own spit. You have spitted something. Do you ever swallow that? If you have renounced something and again go back to that, it is like swallowing your own spit. Once I have renounced, is renounced for all. And that's the idea which we find, that once from my mind I have removed, know it for certain, nothing can again bring back that attachment. It's gone forever, know it for certain. Don't try to convince me that I cannot stay without her. And then Yogin Ma also came to convince her that Radhu's presence is needed. And again the same thing, he's saying, Yogin, I have cut the chain of Maya. Very firmly she's saying, no more of this. It was needed for the work. A total detachment was there, but for this work which had to be done after the passing away of Ramakrishna, this attachment was there for me to keep myself in this body. Almost similar thing we find in the life of Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna, when he used to go to the Samadhi, and then suddenly he will somehow very feebly he will say, I want to drink water. And when someone brings water, he won't drink. But why he will say that I want to drink water? It's a resolution by which he is to bring his mind down. Because he has a purpose. He is avatara. He has come down for other spiritual welfare. Now if his body goes off, then how can he instruct others in the spiritual ways of living? So he has to keep his body for some time. So he will, with the help of the small desires, I want to drink water. I want to eat some little sweet. With this, he's bringing his mind down. In the life of Holy Mother also we find that he was ready to depart. And Sri Ramakrishna asked to her to engage herself with that Radhu, her niece, so that her ministry can continue. That ministry which is the source of our entire Ramakrishna, source of inspiration of this entire Ramakrishna movement. So that prolonged, so Ramakrishna passed away in 1886. Holy Mother passed away in 1920. So this about 24 years Holy Mother stayed after the passing away of Ramakrishna as the mother of this organization, showing us the way, giving us the support. But through her life, through her all unbounded love, that we will just point out in another just 2 points because it's almost time. We have already spent quite a long time. So we will find that in the life of Holy Mother, so that's the thing, that you want to get liberated from all sorts of attachments. A tremendous detachment is expressed through our life. That all the attachments that bind us, they can just throw them off any time. And the last 2 threads, one begins to see divinity in all living being, and one's capacity of love expands infinitely. So when you see the divinity in all, the second thing is bound to happen. Your love is now beyond barriers, because you are seeing the divinity in each and every being. So mind is like the prism through which the conscious principle is breaking into the spectrum of this world of name and form. When you realize that, you no more see the world of name and form as a discrete reality. It just becomes the projection of the divine, as has been spoken of in the Isha Upanishad. Isha Vasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. Know the entire world to be pervaded by the divine. The divine alone has become the entire existence. The one who sees it, it's not a matter of belief. For such a person, the love becomes unbound. That's the uniqueness of the human being. The motherly love is in all the creatures, not only in human being. All the creatures love their children, not only human beings. But as a human being, we have a capacity. By relating to our spiritual dimension, we can go beyond that biological limit. The mother's love can become universal. That's what Sri Ramakrishna told to Holy Mother, that you will be totally irritated by hearing the call of the children. They will be calling you mother. So many of them. And we find in the life of Holy Mother that became true. That she became something like universal mother. And as she saw the divinity in each and every being, very nicely in her words, that when you know you are awakened, in her simple words she is saying, when you see the one who is in me, the same entity is in you, and the same entity is in the lowest of the lowly. যখন দেখবে আমার মাঝে যিনি, তোমার মাঝেও তিনি, আর ওই দুলি বাগদির মাঝেও যিনি, তখন জানবে জ্ঞান হয়েছে. That's the word of Holy Mother. Seeing the divinity in all. That's the sign of spirituality. So when that happens, your love becomes unrestricted, unbound. And there is not judgmental anymore. It is not having any hierarchy that I love someone more, someone less. It becomes non-hierarchical. It becomes non-judgmental. It is unconditional. And that we find in the life of Holy Mother. It's the very famous quotation of Holy Mother that Sharat is also my son, Amjad is also my son. Sharat is the direct disciple of Ramakrishna, the first general secretary of the order, a highly exalted soul. And Amjad is a dacoit. But somehow, he developed a love for the Holy Mother. Now and then he will be in the prison. But whenever he has got released from the prison, first he will come to Holy Mother. And Holy Mother will never ask him why you were in prison. The wonderful relation. The moment he comes, Holy Mother is busy in taking care of him. Will serve him food, will give him oil so that he can. He himself used to say that I am short-tempered. My head gets very hot. So Holy Mother used to give some Ayurvedic oil. Just you use that oil, go and have a bath, and then come, and then she's ready with the food. She will never ask that why you steal, why you plunder others' property. Never. Very interesting. Once Amjad didn't come for a long time. After a long time, he came. And Holy Mother asked, what were you doing for such a long time? Where were you? And he told, I was in jail. I did some very small silly theft. For that I was caught, and then I was in jail. And then Holy Mother's reply was interesting. Oh, that's why. Oh, that's why you couldn't come for such a long time. Never she will scold him or reprimand him for what he was doing. It was just unconditional love. And you may think, is it okay? We will find a wonderful transformation in this Amjad, in his later life. This unconditional love is something wonderful. When you love someone unconditionally, it is bound to bring a transformation in the other person. The sense of belongingness is something wonderful. None of us can stay just as a segregated personality. We all need that belonging. When in spite of all our limitations or all our weaknesses, you find someone is there loving you. There is no such inhibitions, unconditional love. It brings a wonderful transformation to the person. And that happened in life of Amjad. So that's the thing, wonderful we think, that for him, for Holy Mother, there was no such hierarchy. That love was equal for all. It was something very interesting. You know that he used to that where is love? Where there is love, there must be some caring. There must be nurturing. Now, Holy Mother was the guru of so many disciples. With this just incident, I will end today's discussion. There were so many from Calcutta. They used to come when Holy Mother was in Jairambati in her village. They used to come to spend some time with their guru. Guru happens to be the Holy Mother. Now, at the same time, Holy Mother is the mother for all. Now, general practice is anywhere you go and you serve the Guru, isn't it? Guru is served. Guru won't serve you. You will serve the Guru. That's the general norm. That you will pray your oblations to him, you will serve him. But whenever all his disciples from Calcutta used to come, Holy Mother was very, very busy. because in the village you don't get, the groceries are not so easily available. So now she knew that these Calcutta boys, they have the habit of drinking tea in the morning. In the village, how can we arrange tea? She had rheumatism. She will limp with a bowl in her hand and go from door to door in the entire village and asking that my son is here. The villagers knew that he has no son, she has no son. But for her, everyone is son. So she goes with that bowl, my sons are here, I need some milk. She will collect that milk for preparing the tea, And she was the one who will be cooking. And very interesting, the disciples were not, if your guru starts serving you, you will feel hesitant. But these disciples were very happy. Mother is serving them and they are so happy. So you won't get this type of example in the spiritual history, where the guru is serving and disciple is accepting that service and he is very happy. So that's the wonderful, that nurturing, caring, unconditional love, which comes from that deep spiritual awakening, that he is actually seeing the same divine spirit in each and every being. And he is seeing the divine spirit in each and every being. She is showering her maternal love. She has become the mother for all. And that's the wonderful way we find that the love has transcended all the barriers. That's the sign of awakening. You see the divinity in all, and then seeing the divinity in all, your love transcends all barriers and it becomes unconditional. It flows for all. It goes beyond all barriers. It expands infinitely. So the life of Holy Mother, we find these wonderful spiritual traits finding expression in such a spontaneous way. And it was so spontaneous, it appeared to be so natural, that sometimes some of the disciples never found anything supernatural in her life. One of the disciples asked Holy Mother that what's the something extraordinary about you? What's something special about you? And Holy Mother's reply was wonderful. Just show me another person who is as ordinary as me. His reply is wonderful. Why Just to live an ordinary life is not easy. To live a very simple life is not such easy. She is saying, that show another ordinary life like me. Just who can take the life in such a simple way. To deal with all, with that unhierarchical love. To have the tremendous sense of forbearing, never reacting, just always, even for a harsh behavior, she has nothing but only blessing. Once it so happened, that she was cooking and that one of her relatives who was mad, she for some reason was angry and she removed one of this blazing log from the furnace, and with that she was attacking Holy Mother. And then suddenly, at the spur of the moment, Holy Mother told, you know what you are doing? Your hand will fall off. That's the only curse you will find. She has mentioned that really, after Holy Mother died, that lady, she developed some gangrene for some reason, and that hand has to be cut off. But there's only once we hear that Holy Mother told something, and after saying that, immediate reaction was wonderful. She started crying. She told, at last, oh Ramakrishna, oh Master, at last you made me do so. That at last you made me just to curse someone. And then she was so perturbed, she was taking the dust of her own feet and putting it again and again on that mad relative's head. That what I have spoken, I know what powerful it is. Even Sri Ramakrishna used to say that if I get angry, you may be saved. But if she gets angry, no one can save you. That's the power she had, the spiritual power. And she knew. And she repeatedly was putting the dust on her head. And that the one who has attacked with the blazing wood, she told something, and for that she is repentant at why she told. So, and throughout the life you won't find a single more other curse. It's all love, the genuine love flowing from the heart. That's the wonderful life which we see has been exemplified with the Holy Mother. So which speaks of the various traits of awakening. By seeing that, if we also try to imitate those traits, In spiritual life, imitation is a wonderful thing. Sankaracharya told what is sadhana? That the spontaneous way of living of illumined soul is practice for me. What is spontaneous for him? If I try to imitate, that becomes practice. So if I try to imitate that life, that becomes a practice. It's not easy. That becomes a practice for me. Just the way a small child learns to write. The parent will write the alphabets, or the teacher will write the alphabets, and they will ask the child to scribble over that. By scribbling over the already written alphabets, a small child learns how to write, learns writing. Similarly, by scribbling over the lives of this realized soul, we also get equipped in the way of living, in the art of living. That we, on this special day, pray to Holy Mother that she may give us sufficient strength, sufficient perseverance to follow the path for which their advent was in this earth. So with these prayers, I would like to stop our discussion today. Thank you all. Namaskar.